How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Never lose sight of the magic of this football team.
Yeah! Here we go.
I'm all in.
What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Cowboys Gameplan. Again, it's been a little while, but that's kind of the off season for us, man. You know, there's some news that comes out here and there. There's some news that's, about the Cowboys, which actually it's a soap opera 24/7 a year, 24/7, 365 days a year, according to Jerry Jones. I'm Mike. That's Slater. If you're, new to this channel, man, leave us a like, comment, subscribe. We're here just tonight going to do some mock drafts and, just chat, man. Anything that you want to talk about Dallas Cowboys wise, let's talk about it. I haven't heard any particular news about the Dallas Cowboys since, the last episode where we talked about free agency, the moves that we made. Obviously the trade rumors, it seems like the Cowboys are involved in every trade rumor you can imagine. But again, it's all just sometimes false hope for me, or it's just sometimes people creating content. But Mike, have you heard any news or anything that maybe we need to bring to attention to?
Nothing that necessarily needs attention. Like you were saying, we've seen a lot of people trying to fire up, Max Crosby at hope. More recently, there's talk of getting.
I think you froze out there for a second. Hit me with what you were saying. Is it
Outside of just to fire up the Max Crosby trade again? I've seen some stuff about that, but more recently it's been talks of getting linebackers. Brooks from Dolphins or Shire from the Texans have popped up over the past few days. I don't know if that's founded in anything from the front office here in Dallas or if that is just speculations from the fandom creating content, creating hope and possibilities and scenarios to speak of.
Yeah.
Most of that right now is probably just scuttlebutt, as I like to call it, and not founded in anything factual. We're all waiting around to see what's going to happen and see if Dallas is going to do anything else. And we decided to take some time tonight to continue. One of our favorite games is to play GM. Mm-hmm. So we're going to, Slater, I think we're going to do it for every team tonight. How many rounds are we going to go for this mock draft?
We'll just do one, and what we can do is either we can do one full one or two full ones. We got about 45 minutes to an hour, so we'll see how much we get through. Kind of walk through what we think each team's going to do, and then if we want to, we can do speed rounds where it's auto drafts, and then we decide what the Cowboys and the situations we may be into. But I just planned on one. We can do more than one if you want.
Sure, sounds like a plan.
All right, let's do it. All right, let's do this thing. All right, so obviously, pick number one. Start the draft here. Obviously, unless you have a disagreement about this, I think the consensus across the whole entire league would be Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah, I think that's what we should do is, we both share our opinion on the draft candidate. If the opinion differs, we would do what any war room would do in this situation, and we pro and con things versus what the team needs. So until we run into that scenario where there's a disagreement, I think that's a good way to make this flow. Now, for those that are watching and listening, we're going to do our best to not be biased to our fandom as Dallas Cowboy fans. We're going to try to act on the best interest of the team. I do feel like big and I are the NFL. We know the teams at least well enough to understand, what kind of situation they're in, where they're at in their building process as far as trying to reach the playoffs or return to the playoffs or whatever it may be to be able to identify what we think would help them the most. And I will do my best to not show any bias, to hold a candidate that should be drafted for the Cowboys. So we'll do it as if, every pick is 100% on the up and up as far as we can make it.
Awesome. So any disagreements?
No, that's what I was about to say. And totally in agreement. The Raiders desperately need a franchise quarterback before they can really do anything substantial. They've done a lot on defense.
Mm-hmm.
So you can tell the team's trying to reach a new era. They have a very experienced, very talented defense. And here's what I think. I think they're trying to use the formula that the Patriots used, where they pile experience around all the positions, throw a talented rookie in there, and see how far he can get you.
Yeah.
And it's very similar to what the Patriots done over the last couple of years. So I think that's going to be their strategy. So absolutely, this is Mendoza 100%.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, overall, you need a quarterback. He's going to be the best quarterback available. Do I think this is the best quarterback class to have the number one pick in? Obviously not. But when you need a quarterback, what are you going to do?
Right.
All right, pick number 2. I'll let you go first, man. What you think here?
All right, so we're looking at the Jets, I believe. Is it? Yep, our number 2 pick. Oh boy. So their strength of schedule is just above 500 right now. So they basically have torn everything out of their team. Took a big piece of defense this year. Have a ton of draft picks. I know that much. And their needs are kind of their needs are kind of spread offense and defense. Obviously, they need a quarterback, but I think they signed. Didn't they sign someone?
They got Geno Smith, but for me,
I mean, I'm sure by signing Geno Smith, he is a starting quarterback. I don't think they're signing him anticipating that he's going to be a backup. So I'm assuming they're going into the season with him as the starter, and they're going to try to build a team to hand over to the new king whenever that time comes. So I don't think quarterback is right for this. I don't think we need a quarterback. We need edge. We need wide receiver. We need offensive linemen mostly. And a cornerback is another need that's been talked about. So let's break this down. What do we know we have? We have a pretty good backfield. We have Geno Smith at quarterback. We've got a stud receiver. The defense has shown strength over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
I can go either way here. I can go offensive lineman, or I could go wide receiver or edge. I really think offensive lineman or edge is probably the best way to go here.
For me, when it comes to the New York Jets, obviously they trade a lot of assets. Obviously, the Cowboys even receiving one of those assets, right? And Quinnen Williams, they traded Sauce Gardner. They're a team that's looking to kind of do a quick rebuild. They signed a good amount of free agents this past couple weeks in free agency. Honestly, for me, originally it was Ruben Bain, right? Ruben Bain seemed to bring pretty good consensus of a number 2 pick overall. When you look across all mock drafts, even in my opinion, I still think he's one of the better edges in the draft. But the short arm theory comes out, and then everyone kind of starts getting scared because apparently a guy who has short arms but who's been dominating college football is all of a sudden going to translate to the NFL and not be good anymore.
Yeah, what's your personal feeling on that, by the way? How do you feel like that measurement? And does you think it matters that much?
No, in today's league, I mean, come on. I mean, maybe if we were playing back in the 90s, the early 2000s, where people looked for exactly certain type of figures to play these certain positions, but anyone can be an edge rusher. Anyone can be like Micah Parsons was drafted to be a linebacker, then becomes an edge rusher. I mean, how many times have we seen this situation happen? And you're telling me that in a scheme with Christian Parker, where he's really using guys like Rashawn Gary and all that, who aren't like typical, huge edges or Myles Garrett's of the world, that he can't make Ruben Bain work. Sorry, I'm talking Cowboys here, but for my opinion, if he were to fall to 12, that would be a steal. But
here, let me interject this real quick, just quickly. So in this offseason, we've signed running backs, linebackers. We've signed an entire offensive line, a right tackle, a guard, a left tackle, safeties, defensive tackle. They got Deshaun Wright, Minka Fitzpatrick, obviously Geno Smith we talked about, Mikael Walker, Okafor is one that pops out. So they've been active.
Yep.
So we're really just down to the point of looking at our roster. What do we need? What is missing? And an edge is missing, because I can't think of a dominating edge that's a New York Jet that's established. And I can't think of a really strong wide receiver. I know they have their guy, but is he the guy, right? Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I think we either go looking at it. We've got Max Mitchell, Dylan Parham, Xavier Newman Johnson, and Okafor is who they're bringing in for the offensive line. I still like offensive line. So I'll let you make this call. Are we going offense or defense?
I think it's got to be defense. And okay. I mean, do the Jets in this situation take the best overall defensive player? Because obviously Arvell Reese is going to fall in this top three.
No, and that's kind of where it's like, once we establish which side of the ball we're going on, that'll pretty much determine where we're going to pick. I think if you're them, your offense can at least function with the backfield that you have, the wide receiver you have. Geno Smith is a confident, capable quarterback that's going to be able to do something if he has a line to block. I mean, he was able to get the beleaguered Raiders offense on the move occasionally. Mm-hmm. So I feel like they're going to be okay on offense. So considering their draft position and this being what I would consider to be a defensive draft, I think the way to go is defense.
Yeah, totally on board.
Okay. So looking at defense, what do we got in the top five?
We got Arvell Reese, we got Sonny Styles, we got Ruben Bain, and we got David Bailey, and then Caleb Downs.
Okay. Oh.
Obviously, it's not going to be Sonny Styles because Arvell Reese is going to be considered the better linebacker. It's going to
be the higher price.
And then, considering what they're saying about Ruben Bain, David Bailey would be considered your better edge. And I think it's too early to take Caleb Downs, because Caleb Downs is
100%. He's a safety. That's a luxury. So we're down to Arvell Reese and Ruben Bain.
I say David Bailey. I think people are so scared of this short arm thing that they're.
Yeah, I'm personally not.
I'm not, but I think the Jets would be.
I think the safe pick here is Arvell Reese. I think that's what most would anticipate being drafted here.
Okay. I'm all for it. Yeah, I'm not scared of Ruben Bain. I think he's an excellent talent. I think a lot of teams are going to be scared in those early picks because they hear that short arm rumor, and then they start comparing it to what the rest of the defensive or edges look in the league, and it's going to scare them off of it.
Yeah,
and I think it's done.
Man,
yeah.
Ninjas and stuff, so you can't grab him because you have no reach, so you can just kind of like.
I just think it's dumb in today's league where we see so many people play so many different positions and so many different styles that you're telling me a defense coordinator can't make Ruben Bain work. Come on.
Right. He's just going to add another layer of complexity to the game and be a nemesis. He's going to be a nuisance, which is good. All right. Arizona. You want to take this one?
Yeah, so obviously the Arizona Cardinals, right? They get rid of Kyler Murray. They bring in, I think they named Jacoby Brissett as their starter. Obviously they've got some questions around. I think they brought in a new head coach, so they're kind of like in a rebuild, right? They're kind of trying to figure out their identity, what kind of direction they want to go. For me, when it comes to the Arizona Cardinals, right? Obviously, after Fernando Mendoza, I mean, if we're looking at quarterbacks, there's nothing crazy, right? Ain't nobody taking Ty Simpson, Drew Aller, Garrett, and Carson Beck. None of these guys in like the top like 10 to 15 picks, right? Maybe late first round, if a team's really looking for a quarterback. But I don't think Arizona's on the move for a quarterback. Let's see. And so after that, it's like they did sign a running back this offseason. I think they signed the one out of Atlanta. What was his name? He was the backup for Bijan. I'm blanking. Tyler Algier. I think they brought him in. They're trying to decide what's going to happen with James Conner.
Isn't Algier coming off an injury?
He could be. I don't remember on top of my head. I just know they signed them
early in the season.
I thought that was James Conner.
It could have been. I might be getting them mixed up. But I mean, I could see them going with Jeremiah Love here.
Jeremiah Love.
I could. I'm not saying that's the pick, but I could definitely.
I think we can both be in agreement on an offensive position.
100%.
I think if Arvell Reese were to somehow fall from 2, like if the Jets were to go somewhere else at 2, they would take Arvell Reese in a heartbeat.
Right.
But
they really need offensive linemen.
That's what I was about to say. I think the Francis guy, the best tackle in the draft.
The question is do you pass up the top running back, one of the top linebackers, and the top 2 defensive ends, who are all top 5 picks, to get the top lineman at 6 or 7? Is that the smart move? For me, if I'm a GM for Arizona in this war room and knowing what it takes to have a successful offense, you have to have a line. I think offensive line. I mean, this may not be, what everybody else's logic would be, but I think you go offensive line here. So I like the Francis Malgoa pick.
I do too, and I think history tells you as well as like Jeremiah Love. I think he's going to be a supreme talent. I think he's going to have a early kickstart to his career, but history tells you that taking a running back in that like top 5 area has not really worked out well for you after at least their rookie contract. So it's like if Arizona is trying to invest into like a long-term guy, I think you're looking more at that Francis. And I think it's a good topic to say, why would they pass up on a Ruben Bain or a David Bailey? And I think they're only passing up on it because after Francis, the tackle talent pool drops pretty hard.
Yeah, I think you're right. And, honestly, I could see them taking Jeremiah Love here, but in the real world.
Yeah.
But I just think that their need is going to overcome that. And if they don't take Jeremiah Love at 3, my personal feeling is he's going to fall to the top of the 10.
Yeah.
When the well-known players have gone away and, the Ruben Bains and the Sonny Stylses are gone, that's when he's going to go. Because if you're not going to take Jeremiah Love in the top 3, he's not going to be a top 5 or top 8. He's going to be in the top 10.
Exactly. See, I will say this though, and I'll let you take over for Tennessee, but I do like Jeremiah Love. I think he's a great talent to have on your team. It just depends on I think where he lands is a team that is ready for a running back. Like, because usually when teams are in the full rebuild, they're not looking at running back because they know that a running back's not going to save their franchise, or it's not going to be a good start to rebuilding it. But if you're looking at like you know, and I'm gonna kind of jump ahead here, but like the Chiefs, right? Like obviously they've got a pretty good team. Mahomes got hurt and all that. The Bengals could be another team. Like these teams that already were built, they just had a bad year. That's where I could see Jeremiah falling.
Yeah. I think I know where he's going to go, but we'll get there.
Yeah, you go. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
No, you're fine. Yeah, you're not jumping. All right. So the Houston Oilers.
The color change, you like that?
Yeah. So we're looking at So they've brought in linebacker, left tackle, wide receiver. I'm not going to mention. I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm just not going to mention anybody who I wouldn't anticipate being a starter. They brought in a cornerback, Jerry Snee, Solomon Thomas. Obviously, we gave him up. Jermaine Johnson is relatively well known. That's pretty much Wandale Robinson, Xavier Woods. So those are kind of like the highlights of all their moves this offseason. So Calvin Ridley. So a couple strong wide receivers, very competent, capable wide receivers. So that tells you they're offensive minded right now, which makes sense with their quarterback and him being in this would be his sophomore year. So
yes,
I think
this would be.
Yeah. So I think they're okay on offense. I think we go defense here. I really do.
I like the defense. I mean, think about it. Robert Saleh coming in, first-year head coach, right? Highly defensive-minded guy, you know, and obviously we already just talked about, you know, Ruben Bain and, you know, David Bailey still being here, and these are guys that are like still here after the top 3 picks, right? Obviously, they've kind of, I mean, I don't know if I'd say fallen, but they're definitely a high talent pool right here for Robert Saleh to go get one of his premier edges he wants.
Yeah, and they need a lineman. Obviously, everybody needs line. That's their biggest listed need. They have a pretty tough schedule ranking. But, dude, knowing Robert Saleh and kind of the way this organization moves in history, you know, with being Tennessee and everything, I think this is where Ruben Bain goes over David Bailey. I like Saleh, and I think he's a Saleh kind of guy because he's just all aggression, motor, and he plays from somewhere down deep against the odds. And that's a Saleh kind of dude. I may be out of turn, but I think Ruben Bain's perfect for the Titans.
No, and I mean PFF here too, right? Even lists Ruben Bain as one of the top picks here over David Bailey. I mean, I think you're right. I mean, I think the edge is the correct position to be looking at for Tennessee.
100%.
And personally, I'm more of a Ruben Bain fan than I am a David Bailey fan.
Me too.
So, short arms or not, I think this guy's going to be a stud. So, I'm in agreement with you. So that's where Ruben Bain's going to go. Miami going back to back here. All right, the New York Giants. So New York Giants, right? They got a new head coach, John Harbaugh, super experienced head coach from the Baltimore Ravens this past offseason. Obviously, he's going to create some havoc, create some trouble. They, let go of Saquon a couple of years ago. They have Malik Neighbors coming off a big injury this year. Obviously, the quarterback battle was happening during the early parts of their season with Brian Daboll between Russell Wilson and Jackson Dart. Obviously Cam Scaboo had a horrific injury. It seems like he's recovering well, and Jackson Dart is the leader of their team. On the defensive side, it seems like they let go of one of their linebackers who was playing the best. They're one of their better linebackers who was playing really well this past year. They let him go, probably salary issues or something like that. I think outside of that, the New York Giants. Go ahead.
While you're looking, let me just point out their highlights.
Yep.
All right, so we've signed wide receiver Darnell Mooney. We still have Ryan Burns, obviously. Calvin Austin. Micah McFadden, inside linebacker. Greg Newsome, cornerback. Ardarius Washington, safety.
Yep.
Tremaine Edmonds, inside linebacker. So They've stacked up on linebacker. They're pretty solid on defensive tackles. It looks like they're building Isaiah Likely. So they've got a good tight end, a talented tight end. You can tell they're going to do a lot of versatile stuff. So they're going to be looking for, we need multi-tool players. Likely is a hybrid. He can do a lot of things. Got a couple wide receivers that can do a lot of things. They got a really talented wide receiver pool. Devin Singletary is still back there in the backfield. They're bulldozers, hopefully going to come back strong and healthy. Here's my opinion on this, and I'll let you take it back over and drive it home.
Yep.
This is the only other time that I see that Jeremiah Love would come off the board early. I'm giving it maybe a 20% shot of actually happening, but I just want to mention that just in case it happens. I can say I knew that was going to happen. Even at 20% confidence, I called it. So I could see it happening here just because they lost their guy. They're known for having pretty quality running backs a lot of the time. Outside of that, I think they really need an offensive lineman, but there's not one available. So this is definitely going to be a defensive pick unless we decide they want Love.
Yeah, for me, this is kind of a tricky one. I think because of what they did in free agency, they may skip over Sonny Styles here. Now, I'm going to do that 20% confidence that you're talking about there. And I'm going to say I'm 20% confident that Sonny Styles could go here instead of anybody else. But I think for me, obviously, their defensive line does not need any more talent added to there, right? They've got Abdul Carter. They've got Dexter Lawrence, and they even got Brian Burns. So they got plenty of talent there. For me, I'm between Caleb Downs or Sonny Styles, and I'm more leaning towards Caleb Downs.
I am too. I was the three picks that I think are likely to happen for New York this year is going to be Jeremiah Love, Caleb Downs, and Mansour Delane, because that's the only weakness I'm seeing really.
Is that secondary?
Is the secondary, and Caleb Downs he's a multi-tool, and he's going to work out well for that head coach. I feel like for our team. So our team, meaning I'm GM for New York, not my team. So I feel like he's that kind of player and would play well for that type of coach, our type of coach. So I'm leaning Caleb Downs. If Caleb Downs wasn't on the board right now, I would take Jeremiah Love, but he is.
Yeah, for me, why not go get the best overall secondary player in the draft? They could take Sonny Styles. I think it would be a little bit too early for Sonny Styles.
They're deep in linebackers, though, man.
It would just depend on how bad they really wanted to stack that linebacker room. And
they got Tremaine Edmonds, Micah McFadden, and Brian Burns. A little bit of depth with Chris Board. Plus, their defensive line is already pretty substantial from their prior drafts over the past 3 years.
Yeah.
So their front seven is powerful. And if you have a need at secondary, why put a talented kid on the bench that doesn't really help your team this year?
Yeah.
And bringing that dude onto the team is going to be a problem. New York has the potential to be a sleeper this year and kind of be a terror. The way like you talked about earlier, the way Jackson Dart runs that team, dude, man, he did it with, and now he's going to have them all back, and they're going to throw, Isaiah Likely out there with him. I think that guy is so underrated and underutilized. Washington, so we got Adarius Washington's already back there in the secondary. So Elijah Campbell, these are 1 year guys. So I like it. I like the Caleb Downs pick.
Yeah, I'm all for Caleb Downs there. I just think it's hard to pass up that talent. And the only other guy I could really think of would be Sonny Styles, but I lean about 80-90% Caleb Downs.
Yep.
All right, the Cleveland Browns. This is interesting. They're not in the top 5 this year, so I don't know what to do.
Well, we're going to do what they always do: grab a quarterback.
Huh. Could you imagine Ty Simpson going right here? They got so much money tied into quarterback right now. It's not even funny
I know, man.
between Deshaun Watson and I guess the rest of I don't know. That's
all right. So some of their pickups are Quincy Williams, and as far as household names that everybody would know, that's really it. Not a lot going on here. Signed a lot of linemen. We've signed 3 guards, a center, a couple tackles. Yeah. So
for me here, I see Cleveland trying to go get some kind of weapon, right? They got Myles Garrett. I don't think you're really looking at edge here. I could see them going to get a running back, a wide receiver. I think it needs to be offensively. I think Cleveland's defense was very good this past year. It was a very top 5 defense led by Jim Schwartz. How many games did we watch this year where Cleveland's defense was just carrying them the whole time, but they had no offensive power at all to get scores on the board so then their defense could breathe a little. It was like if Cleveland was going to win, it was going to have to be a 10-3 game, and that's how Cleveland won.
Yeah, obviously, you're looking at the board and you see Jeremiah Love sitting there ranked 3 in this draft. And here are the Cleveland Browns who have, 2 young, capable quarterbacks. They've got a very solid defense. They've got an offense that needs help. And you think, oh, man, Jeremiah Love. But, they have a running back who was playing really, really well for them that got injured. Now, that's the gamble. Do we think he's going to come back and be as productive for us as he was last year before he got hurt? Or, is this a time to reinforce that? Or do we go satisfy another need? I think you should probably satisfy another need. I think a wide receiver or even a cornerback is a good pick here.
Yeah, cornerback's not a bad one to mention either. And because they did trade off Denzel Ward. I think it was Denzel Ward. They traded off one of their corners this past year. Anyways, so they did trade one of their corners. For me, I think they have to stay wide receiver because, look at this wide receiver depth chart they got going on here. Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman, and Isaiah Bond. And even with Judkins maybe coming back from that injury, I think you have to trust it, right? You have to trust that he comes back healthy. And if you have to, you go get somebody from free agency or even maybe later in the draft, right? Maybe some guy from a smaller school who can just be like a 1-2 combo for Cleveland. I'm really leaning towards Carnell Tate here.
I like it.
And I know that's probably what a lot of people are saying, but it's hard for me to believe that Cleveland, if Carnell Tate is still there, Cleveland passes on getting a premier weapon for Shador, for Deshaun, whoever they got at quarterback, because Carnell Tate is a weapon. So, all right, Washington Commanders. Now, this is again, this is not my team. This is not your team. This is just a team that we're GMs for the next 3 minutes here, and then we're going to move on from them. The Washington Commanders, obviously they had a really great year 2 years ago. NFC Championship appearance, fell short to the Philadelphia Eagles of making the Super Bowl. They obviously this past year had kind of somewhat injury riddled year, sophomore slump from Jane Daniels. The Commanders were very needy when it came to weapons too. It felt like Deebo Samuel didn't really fulfill that need that they were looking for. They got rid of their offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury. I forget who their offensive coordinator is now. I don't know if they promoted internal or what they did there. But for me here, they traded Brian Robinson Jr. Who is their running back? I'm trying to think.
Well, that's the thing. You're looking at Jeremiah Love, and this is why earlier, if he doesn't go in the top 3, he's not going to fall, and he's not going to fall in the top 5 or 8, in my opinion. And here's another reason why. This is the moves that Washington has made. They've grabbed Jeremy Nichols. You're like, okay, who cares? And then you're like, oh, they got Jerome Ford. Okay, now they're moving up a little bit. And then on top of that, they've added Rashad White. So,
Yeah.
this is 3 running backs added to the team in addition to whatever already was there. They're definitely not thinking they're going to draft a running back here, right? And then we compare that to what's on the board. Are we going to pass up 4 elite defensive players for an offensive player? I think this is where Sonny Styles or David Bailey come off the board.
I'm gonna let you make the pick on this, but yeah, I mean, you're not wrong because they did lose Bobby Wagner, right? Or they haven't re-signed him yet. That he could be coming back, right? But he's currently not on their depth chart, right? Debo Samuel's currently not on their depth chart. Their starting running back is Krosky Merritt, which we saw in Rashad White, which they signed, right? And I think, yeah, they signed those 2 guys, I think, and those are 2 guys that could confidently probably play in your backfield. But their defensive end room, Tim Settle Jr., Daron Payne, and Javion Kinlaw. Kinlaw's not bad, but he's not a weapon that maybe David Bailey brings, a premier weapon, right? Or, if you're looking at developing a linebacker, Sonny Styles. I'm going to let you make the call here. I'm 50-50 between the 2.
All right, let me reinforce this, and then you hear me make this choice. All right, so we've got Leo Chenal. Okay, yep. They brought him on. They brought in Adafe Owe. So there's 2 strong linebackers, 1 hybrid edge. We got Marshawn Lattimore defensively now. So you can tell they're definitely trying to bolster their front 7. So I'm seeing a lot of linebackers and a couple of defensive tackles sprinkled in their free agency here. So what do we need to complement that? We need another linebacker, or we need an edge. And that's why I think this is where Sonny Styles or even David Bailey, one or the other, can come off of the board. Taking a second glance at this while you were talking, with the depth they've added at linebacker here, I feel like this could be a good spot for David Bailey.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think David Bailey's already fallen to 7, which is kind of crazy to me. Obviously, the guy's got premier talent, but I think Washington capitalizes on David Bailey falling and going to get a edge rusher who supposedly doesn't have short arms and will be terrible because of it.
Right.
So, all right, the New Orleans Saints. This is a team that Kellen Moore took over this past year. They showed a lot of, I want to say, like late season explosion with Tyler Schnau coming in. They started off with Spencer Rattler. It kind of wasn't going well, but they brought in Tyler Schnau, or Schnau. I don't know how to say his last name. Let's call him Tyler. But their quarterback brought in a lot of explosion at the end of the season. They kind of ended off the season hot. They have, questions with Alvin Kamara, whether he's going to be on the team or not, or if they do decide to go get Jeremiah Love here, will he be on the team? But for me, I mean, I know you'll name off their accusation.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on
words.
words.
Hiccup and things, and this is to the detriment of poor Jeremiah Love, who's going to be, being shown on the draft channel every 5 seconds because he hasn't been drafted yet. And it's because all these teams are reaching out and they're grabbing running backs. We got Ty Chandler, we got Travis Etienne here, Alvin Kamara, assuming he comes back.
Oh yeah,
they're not looking. Yeah, they're not looking to draft a running back. So Jeremiah's going to be sitting around. And if you're the Saints and you're getting ready to pick before Washington, and you see David Bailey on the board, you're crossing your fingers. And then he goes. I'll let you finish, but I already have a feeling of who they're going to grab here. But this team was the team that really wanted David Bailey, in my opinion, or even Reuben Bain if Bailey assumptively would have gone first.
Yeah, I think you're totally right there, and I didn't even think about that. I totally forgot they got Travis Etienne. I forgot that they even acquired him. And for me, like looking at their depth chart here and looking at their ends and their nose tackles, this would have been a great team for David Bailey to fall to. This is a team, like you said, that front office, fingers crossed. And let's say he does get drafted. This is a great scenario for them. I almost think
the next best thing.
it's got to be the linebacker, right? It's got to be our guy that we want to fall to 12 that I don't think is going to make it to 12 because it's such a high talent pool.
And it's because it's likely going to be because of all the running back movement is going to keep Jeremiah Love on the board, which you would think being a top 3, certainly a top 5 player, would go to a different team, which would throw the balance off. But it's not going to happen. And he's not going to fall to us either because I think he's about to go. But that's how this is. I think Sonny Styles is the pick here because they need an edge desperately, and he's the closest thing they can get to an edge style linebacker.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, looking at their cornerback room, you can make a case for Delane, but for me, it's like Kool-Aid. They got Kool-Aid. They got Justin Reed. They got Julian Blackman. They even got Quincy Riley, which are all names that I know. And so it's not like it's a desperate need to reach. I think getting Delane there is a reach compared to just getting Sonny Styles, which is probably a good fit at this range of picks that we're at now.
Yep.
All right, the Chiefs at pick 9. This is kind of crazy for a team that has Patrick Mahomes and has been a dynasty for years. When it comes to the Chiefs, obviously they're not rebuilding. They're not, breaking things apart and trying to redo it all. They are obviously looking to get Mahomes healthy, stay alive in the early part of the season. So when he comes back, he can come back and do Mahomes things and get the Chiefs right back in the playoffs. So for here, it's all about how do they reinforce this team that is getting back on track and just being in the playoffs again and competing for championships while they have Andy Reid and Mahomes. For me, I'm going to look at their depth chart real quick, but you add your comments on what you think for the Chiefs here.
Okay, so here's my opinion. We're looking at it. Okay, so the first thing we look at is look at what's available. Best player available by ranking is Jeremiah Love.
Yep.
All right. So we've added Kenneth Walker Jr. this year. I don't know. Maybe you can tell me what's in their backfield currently. We've got Amari DeMarcado.
Yep.
And Kenneth Walker. Anything else you're seeing?
No, I mean, Kenneth Walker obviously was a shock of a signing because I think a lot of people thought that Jeremiah Love was going to fall to the Chiefs and the Chiefs were going to take him because they needed a running back. Well, all of a sudden, first day of free agency, Kenneth Walker, bam, Super Bowl MVP going to the Chiefs. And I wonder if that's just to prevent having to get a rookie running back in the backfield with Mahomes and just get somebody experienced. And they love downhill hard-nosed running backs, and because they just had it with Pacheco.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is the first tough one because they need a cornerback.
Yep.
But Jeremiah Love is available, and this is a great fit for him. So we're kind of torn. I could see this is the first time after pick 3 that I could see Jeremiah Love legitimately coming off the board for sure.
Yeah.
But man, my heart tells me this is Mansour, but I could be wrong.
I think it's Mansour too. And the only reason I say that is because they just traded their cornerback to the Rams for a first-round pick, and their cornerback room is depleted. And I think getting some young talent in that cornerback room for them is what probably the reason why they trade them. Instead of paying them, they said, we know a cornerback's going to fall to us, and we're probably going to get the best cornerback in this draft, and we'll just take them. And that's why they signed Kenneth Walker, so they didn't have to be torn between the running back and the cornerback.
Right.
So I like it. All right.
The Bengals.
The Bengals. Cincinnati here, obviously they've got Joe Burrow. They have not been able to protect Joe Burrow for years. Ever since he's come into the league, he's the most sacked quarterback. He's always the most pressured quarterback. And it's because they have a lot of money tied into their weapons, right? This was a team that was competing for a Super Bowl in 2021 and was in the playoffs for multiple years after that, but hasn't been able to get back on track since probably the past couple of years. They lost Trey Hendrickson. They are really needy, I think, on the offensive line here. But I also think they need defense. They need some defensive help. I don't think this team is in a position to go get more weaponry for Joe Burrow unless it's a offensive lineman or it's got to be whatever best available defensive talent there is.
Right. So, and again, here we are with Jeremiah Love being passed over due to team need, not talent. And we've got a great defensive player and a great offensive lineman sitting in the draft order is starting to correct itself now. Once the ripple hits early in the draft order, it throws everything off a little bit. And now we're kind of falling back into what your need is, kind of matches what's available, right? So this is another 50-50 for me. But it looks like the Bengals' biggest needs are defense.
Yeah.
But then you're looking at it and you're like, it's a safety. Nothing wrong with safeties. I love them. But they're kind of a luxury pick,
Well, this isn't also like a Caleb Downs safety.
Right.
I mean, there's a difference here. There's levels to this.
Right. This is not a really gritty cornerback. This is not, this is not an outstanding linebacker. This is a safety. It's the last line of defense. It's a luxury to draft early.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like Spencer Fano may be the choice here.
I think Spencer Fano is a great choice for them because I think for Joe Burrow that they've been horrible at this offensive line and trying to protect him. I think they've really got to get this pick right and hope that Spencer Fano is someone that they can keep at right or left tackle, whatever they decide to choose. You got the Georgia tackle, Freeling, and then after that you got tight ends, wide receivers, and then guards.
Yeah, I think we're in the right spot. I think that's the right thing to do. When you're building your offensive line, you definitely want to get your tackles situated.
Well, let me put it this way. He's going to be better than currently Orlando Brown Jr., which, I mean, he's all right. But to solidify the other side, he'll be better than that Mims guy that they have.
Sure.
But I will also say this, though, and this is the tricky part when we're talking about this, is, PFF says they need a guard.
Right.
And, I don't know if Fano can really, transfer the guard, but that Mims guy they got last year from Georgia, he was just drafted 2 years ago. So he's still technically on his rookie deal. And Orlando Brown Jr., they have a lot of money invested into when they stole him from the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
So my only stipulation is if we did go Spencer Fano, which I'll undo the pick here real quick, is
there's not really a guard available though.
No, you'd be reaching if you were going for the Penn State guard. So they could trade back here. Obviously, we're not really doing this with like trade backs and everything like that. But the only guy I could really argue for would be the safety. But I think maybe we stick with Fano since we kind of agreed on it.
Yeah, I think that's the instinctual pick. It's the logical thing to do. I just think drafting a safety when you have so much need. Safety is the pick that statistically they should get because they're depleted on defense, but its impact to defense is not as significant as the value of a talented starting tackle. So unfortunately, necessity of the game is going to decide this pick for them, unfortunately.
Yeah. Before we go to the Dolphins, Mr. King has entered our chat, man. Welcome in. Hope you're enjoying the content so far. He is convinced now that we'll be wiped out at 12 with our logical thinking here. Now, I will say this. Anything can happen in an NFL draft. We've seen teams before just out the blue, draft some random guys super early. Even the Cowboys did it last year, right, with Tyler Booker. Just out the blue, all of a sudden we're getting Tyler Booker. There is a chance that someone could fall, but if we're playing this logically and teams just stick to what they actually need, this is really probably what would you say, 80% outcome of the draft, unless that somehow that 20% happens where, let's say that Penn State guard goes, or someone's really feeling Jeremiah Love and it bumps everyone down the position, and that's the key for the Cowboys. And everyone else has talked about this, is how many offensive players go in the top 11 to bump everyone else down one to fall to us.
Right.
So
yeah, and it could be somebody it could be two players. Two players could make this draft very different. That's Jeremiah Love and that's Carnell Tate.
Yep.
If those two guys don't go, if they do go in the top 6, so we have Mendoza, Carnell Tate, and Jeremiah Love all go in the top 6, that changes this draft big time.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I don't see it playing any other way right now.
Yeah. And here in a minute, we'll get to Dallas and we'll see what kind of tricky situation we've put ourselves into. Because right now we're just being honest and what the team needs and not trying to, like you said, favor ourselves.
Right.
So then it's easy at 12 for what we want.
We're not trying to, impress anybody with how well we can stack our team with hope and prayers, air burgers and wind fries. We're not trying to feed you that. So we're trying to, get for real. But who are we looking at? The Dolphinians? All right.
Yes. So the Miami Dolphins, obviously this past offseason, they have a lot of dead cap. They have done a lot of roster turnover, right? They've got Malik Willis in the building, backed up by Quinn Ewers. They got rid of Tua, who went to Atlanta. They still have Devin Achane, obviously a great weapon. They actually got rid of both their wide receivers this offseason, which I'm impressed about. I guess they're looking to do a rebuild, right? New head coach in the building. I think it was the Green Bay Packers defensive coordinator that is the head coach for them now. I can't remember his name on top of my head, but they got rid of Tyreek Hill and they got rid of Jalen Waddle in the trade to the Broncos. So
they took our guy.
Yeah. Who they take? Sorry, I'm blanking.
Jalen.
Oh, yes. And this team here, I think it's in a rebuild position. Obviously, with Malik Willis, I hate to say, but I don't think you pick up Malik Willis looking to go compete for Super Bowls. I think it's more of like we picked up a quarterback that, may win us more games than lose, but, we're not really in the building
to be a total stud, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or, we could be wrong, but here, what do you think that the Miami Dolphins should do looking at their, I know you got what the roster moves they've made this offseason so far, and as well as, Jalen Tolbert is their number 1, number 2 wide receiver right now. Are we looking at getting an offensive weapon, or are we looking to take, defense? What do you think here?
So here's where I'm at. And this is going to be funny because at this point, Dallas fans, we're going to be like, man, well, at least we can get Jeremiah Love. This is where we're going to get Jeremiah Love. We're finally going to get a running back right after we sign our guy. We've been needing a running back. It's been running back for the past couple of years. We sign a guy. Boom, the best one in the draft is going to be available, except this team needs an offensive weapon. Are you going to pass up the number 1 running back for the second best wide receiver in the draft? We've got Devon Chain back there.
Yeah.
Be a great complimentary back for Jeremiah Love. Jalen Tolbert added to the offense. Now, outside of that, we've added Tutu Atwell's still there. Man, we've had a lot of depth all over the place. These guys have really been busy. So I'm seeing centers, tackles, defensive ends, a lot of special teams going on. Another defensive end, defensive tackle, also on linebacker. And these are big, huge, names. We've got Bradley Chubb. And some other, some Jags, but a lot of depth. So they're definitely in a rebuild, and there's nothing better in a rebuild than a good, strong, solid running back. Yeah. This is where I think we potentially lose Love. So he's going to go with Cardinals, Chiefs, or Dolphins. And I think it's the Dolphins in our draft.
Dang. Okay. That I see the point. I see the vision. You're talking Sonic and Knuckles here, right? You want Devon Achane, and you might as well take Jeremiah Love because at this point he's the ranked number 3 talent on the PFF board. And do you really lose anything here, right? Why not?
Away, you're not a defensive edge away from being an elite. You're a long way away. You are in full. You're trying to Put new wings on the airplane while you're falling out of the sky. Not good. So, man, we'll just add the best running back in the draft. Fell in our lap at 11. How lucky are we?
Yeah, and honestly, maybe they were looking to move on. I heard rumors about Devon A-Chain looking to be traded. I think he's a guy that what year was he drafted here? I got him pulled up actually because I was looking at him. He was drafted in 2023, so that puts him on his third year of his contract of his rookie deal. So somebody could be looking to pay high for a running back that we obviously know is really good. Maybe they send, a second first-round pick for Devon A-Chain, knowing that he's a really good caliber running back into a team that is wanting to win now. And then you would be able to give him away really easily because you have Jeremiah Love. The only argument I would have against your point would be, Mekhi Lemon. But like you just said, would you want the number 2 wide receiver in the draft or the number 1 running back and have options to potentially trade away or – I like it. I think we should do Jeremiah Love just for fun. So then no one can say, why does Dallas not take Jeremiah Love right here? Because I don't want to hear it. We're not taking a running back at 12.
Let's go a step further. Okay, let's take everything else out of it and let's look at Jeremiah Love and let's look at Mekhi Lemon. Who's the better player? Who's the bigger impact player for their teams?
I think bigger impact now would be Mekhi Lemon.
Then go with him. If that's what you truly think, if you think he drives more offense than Jeremiah Love, that's the logic we should apply as Miami Dolphin GMs.
Are you sure?
I asked you the question. You answered it. So
I just think because of looking at their wide receiver room, if A-Chain was hurt or anything like that, Love would be obviously the best. But I'll go with it. Because I just think that Mekhi Lemon, Jalen Tolbert, you need a better wide receiver than what you got in the room right now.
Fair enough. I won't argue with it.
And like King said, I wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins trade down here. We're not going to do any trade downs in this draft. But, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins were like, hey, we're a team that's rebuilding. Let's trade this for number 11 pick to a team that wants Jeremiah Love that bad and is willing to overpay for our pick.
Is he talking for the point of the Dolphins or now us, Dallas, being on the board?
I'm not sure. If you're out there, King, let us know. But he commented it when we were talking about the Dolphins still. So I was speaking the perspective of the Dolphins.
Yeah, I would also apply that logic here now. Yeah, I figured you did, buddy.
Yeah.
He was just getting ahead of us because he knew what we're about to be in. I won't lie, I kind of instigated this situation a little bit. Because again, to the detriment of poor Jeremiah Love, who's totally getting Aaron Rodgers here as far as the draft goes.
Yeah.
We don't want the guy. We have desperate needs. And we don't need a bowling ball right now,
Yeah.
We needed somebody to haul the trash, we need a knuckle dragger and a mean one. And there's just not one on the board right now. We don't need a safety. I would love to have Jeremiah Love 2 years ago. But we don't need him now. We're gonna make a pick because we can't, like I said, we're gonna do something in our favor here just because we're Cowboys fans. We're dealing with the real.
Yep.
So here we are. Jeremiah Love is out of the picture. I would anticipate, though, in real life, somebody is calling, going, "Oh my God, Jeremiah Love's on the board," and they're going to trade us, their firstborn, their Jaguar. Everything's coming off for all the clothes is all coming off just to get to 12, and we'll fall back to 14 or maybe he'll be a Raven. A Raven's a good spot for him. Go learn behind the king. But anyway, I'm joking. Give me your opinion, or I'll run away.
Honestly, for me here, obviously, I think safety. I think the Dillon guy would have been a really good pick here for Dallas if they didn't get Jalen Thompson. I think Jalen Thompson changes a lot of things. Now, it depends if they're looking to get off of Malik Hooker. They could go Dillon here. Obviously, I think we know what the top 2 favorite guys are for Dallas here, looking at other, top guys talk about it and what I've heard from, listen to other people, it's going to be either Jamard McCoy or they go get CJ Allen here. And I think that both these guys could be a little bit of a reach, but I don't think CJ Allen is a reach here. And the only reason I say that is because it's like a Tyler Booker pick from last year, or it's like oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Anyways, I'm going to move on. But CJ Allen for us here would be huge because we need a linebacker. And yes, at 12, it's not necessarily ideal pick, but he at least provides depth inside that room with Overshown. Because at the end of the day, ever since after Overshown's second year, he's been injury prone, right? We haven't really seen Overshown play a full year. And so it would be really nice to get CJ Allen here and pair him up with Overshown if we don't go sign a linebacker, which we haven't done yet as of right now.
I just kicked my camera. I got too excited. No, I agree with you 100%. I like either one of these guys. I'm pretty much confident and have settled on over the past couple of weeks that these are going to be the guys we're going to be choosing from. Maybe sprinkling a little Messidor in the war room just to keep it, Jerry.
Yeah.
But my hope in the real draft is that the Ravens, the Buccaneers, who just wiped out their running back room, or the Vikings, or even the Lions, any of those teams who want a safety or a running back are going to call Dallas and let us drop back 2 spots and give us, a second round or something.
Yeah.
Just to come up and get Love or even Thieneman. I personally like Jermod McCoy. Unfortunately, we've already got guys who we're hoping can come back from an injury on our cornerback roster. I don't want to start the season like we did with our entire secondary hurt, even if it's just one guy. I think he's going to be very, very good, and I'll probably regret it. But I think this is CJ Allen for us, and that's what I want them to do. Although I have a bias for McCoy, I have to play the game in the rules that I set. Sorry that was long, but it's just the way my brain works, so you can understand why I'm crazy. I go CJ Allen.
No, I go CJ Allen too. I just think, and I think with also the coach that we hired, that outside linebackers coach from Georgia, obviously he's going to be inside that war room, standing up with Christian Parker, being like, "Get this guy! Like, I know him. We can." They probably have private meetings with him during the draft and during the combine to figure out who he is. And obviously, we know that CJ Allen is going to be a favorite inside that war room.
Yeah.
So, all right, the Rams here. Obviously, the Rams were in an NFC Championship, fell short to a super stacked Seattle Seahawks team. Here, they acquired this pick from Atlanta, it looks like. And so, what does the Rams do? They have Devontae Adams at the moment. They've got Puka. This team is a really good team. This is kind of a favorite. This is kind of a nice pick for the Rams to have when you're trying to, kind of continue on your success. Here, I need to look at their offensive line, but PFF here says their needs are wide receiver, tackle, and linebacker. Obviously, CJ Allen coming off the board probably eliminates their linebacker need. I'm surprised it says they need a wide receiver considering they have Puka and Devontae Adams, but maybe it's their depth that's really weak at the moment.
Yeah, what's their running back room like?
I'm looking right now.
I mean, you're already a Super Bowl caliber team.
They got Kyron Williams and Blake Corum, which we saw during the playoffs. They were a 1-2 combo.
Right. We have to consider that every pick. We have to look at Jeremiah Love, right? Because this guy's not going to fall out of the first round. I know that. So every team is going to be like, that's the number one offensive weapon in the draft, according to the ranking. So it has to be considered every pick.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going based off their needs and what PFF says, I think it's going to have to be that Georgia
Monroe.
tackle.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Monroe.
Yeah. All right.
The Baltimore Ravens obviously lost their head coach this past season or didn't lose him. They fired him. I don't know why I said they lost him. They fired him. Obviously, some players have left with that. They still have Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. They've only got Zay Flowers now. Obviously, the weird thing about the Ravens is it seemed like they didn't have the same kind of offensive explosion like they had in years past, right? Obviously, they have a really stout defense. Obviously, when we're looking at their needs here, they need a lot of help between the offensive line, and it seems like a wide receiver here. For linebacker, they still have Roquan Smith. I think the guy's a stud, and that guy can still take care of business by himself. And, looking at the board now,
Trey Hendrickson has joined the team.
Trey Hendrickson has joined the team. That was a huge sign for him after the Max Crosby trade fell apart. So I think defensively they're good. It's all about how do they maybe get that offensive line back to a higher standard. So then Derrick Henry has better running lanes, Lamar Jackson has better running lanes, and they have better pass protection.
So they had one of the top guards.
Yep.
Trey Hendrickson, Awuzie as a cornerback, Hawkins, Jalen Hawkins as a safety. So adding to what you stated they already have, they're not, I wouldn't say no team's complete, but they're pretty close. Mm-hmm. So every pick now is just a luxury for them. So they can pretty much do whatever they want. So this is just gut instinct. What do the Baltimore Ravens want to do here?
I think they end up going with this guard right here from Penn State. I think they reinforce the offensive line so they can get Derrick Henry back on track to being that number one premier running back.
Okay.
And then Big A, I think you probably heard this from earlier, but he said if the Dolphins draft Love, they would trade their running back. And I totally agree. I think if they get Love, they would probably end up trading AJ, or they got something in the works of it.
My instincts tell me Love's off the board at either the Chiefs or the Dolphins, but
we're Aaron Rodgering him right now.
We're playing a little game, and we'll see how this works out.
All right, the Tampa Bay Bucks. They have Baker Mayfield. Man, I gotta look at their depth chart, man. My mind's starting to slip. We're not in football season. I would know this on top of my head if we were.
I know. It's so many moves. It'll take 3 weeks in the NFL to get it all sorted out in my head.
Yeah, so they got Baker Mayfield at quarterback, Bucky Irving. They got Chris Godwin. They lost Mike Evans. That's where their big loss is at right now. They got Ibuka. They got Jalen McMillan. They have a pretty solid offensive line with Tristan Wirfs and a couple other guys that I know, but I really don't know. Their defense, their big guys are Vita Vea. They've got Alex Alazone. And outside of that, they got Antoine Winfield Jr. And then
Daniel's been added. Kate Otton's back, yeah.
Yep. And so obviously here, I hate to say it, but I don't think they're going Jeremiah Love.
I don't think so
slipping
either.
by here. He's slipping by here too.
I just don't think they have a need for it. It's crazy. Everybody tightens that running back thing up quick. You don't let it get out of control. If you don't have a running back, it's hard to produce an offense in the modern league.
Yep.
You have to have a running back who can do a few things. It's just part of the game. So nobody wants to be caught without one and looking for the only good one in the draft. And to Jeremiah Love's detriment here, he's going to be stressing all night. Tough situation. So,
I could see them going with PFF's needs here. I could see them going with the tight end or the edge. I
think this is a Messidor.
You think this one's Messidor? I like the pick. I mean, might as well go.
Yeah, I think they need defense bad at all levels. So they need an edge. They need a defensive lineman. They need a cornerback. They need a linebacker, and the best player on the board to me that's going to be able to come in and play for you immediately is a Messidor, because we just don't know where McCoy's going to be.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think here that I don't think you could ever have too many edges, whether your edge room is stacked or whether it's not. I don't think you could ever have too many, and especially for the Bucks, their edge room is at best B, or not really a C plus, B minus, and so why not go get some young talent for them?
Now it's kind of funny because at this point in the draft, where some teams are going to be popping back in for their second pick in the first round,
yep,
this is where it starts to get really awkward for a player like Jeremiah Love, who's been on the board this whole time, watching teams pass him up like he's, Shador Sanders,
Yep.
So it's like, here we are again. This would be the Jets' second go around and their second shot at getting a need. Who did we grab for them earlier?
For the Jets earlier, we drafted Arvell Reese, so the linebacker situation solved.
Yep, so they're good there. Edge line, they're good there.
And obviously, we just took off one of the best or the next best edge talent on the board other than Keldrick Falk here. Obviously, we already decided earlier that they're not going to go quarterback. So it's really like, do they go Jordan Tyson or they go McCoy here? Or do they go get the safety?
Man, I think they'd get the safety.
I like the safety. I'm between the safety and Jordan Tyson.
Right. If we're not trading picks or draft spots, you don't want Jeremiah Love because now at this point, like I was saying earlier, you're almost icked on picking Jeremiah Love. You know what I mean? Because you're like, what's wrong with him? Somebody found something out, or he would have went in the top 5 like he was supposed to. So now, nobody wants to be the guy who grabs the last slice of pizza or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's like that's where Jeremiah Love's at here, unfortunately.
And, maybe I'd have to do a little bit more research on Dillon here, but they did require Mika Fitzpatrick this past offseason for the Jets.
Yeah.
Now, is Dillon more of a free safety or a strong safety, or is he more of a strong safety and a free safety? I need to do that research about him to kind of figure out if the Jets would be willing to acquire basically 2 safeties in an offseason. Because let's say Dillon doesn't really fit in the free safety while Mika's a strong safety, then, maybe they do end up going with McCoy there or Jordan Tyson.
Right.
To replace that cornerback or maybe add a second weapon for Geno Smith to have with Garrett Wilson. All right, the Lions. Here's another tricky one for you here. Obviously, the Lions are kind of on a very slow downhill ride here. They lost David Montgomery. They had that really good run in 2023, if I'm not mistaken, or 2022, if I'm not mistaken, where they made the championship game. Everyone thought they were going to be on this uphill climb. They got the number 1 seed a couple years ago and lost, and now this past year they didn't make the playoffs. And now you got guys leaving for better contracts. You got coaches leaving to be head coaches of other teams. It just seems like their mojo's gone. I mean, they're still the knee biting Dave Campbell Lions, but they're not the same. It's not the same mojo. I don't feel the same rhythm from them. So it's like, what can the Lions do with a mid-tier pick where they were kind of middle of the road all year to kind of get back to climbing the mountain again?
Right.
And
so just to touch on what they've done, they signed Damone Clark.
Yep.
Malcolm Rodriguez, outside linebacker. Peyton Turner, defensive end. Big signing, Isaiah Pacheco at running back, probably because they anticipate losing one of their dynamic duo. And outside of that, that's all that's really big for them. They've added some depth all over the place, a couple wide receivers that are irrelevant, but they're pretty talented offensively as it is. So this is a wild card. I mean, this could go either way.
Man, maybe they do go Keldrick Falk here. I mean, what's their defensive end room look like? I think they have to reach. If we're going to play this, like, they have to stick here and make a move here. Or do they get Jeremiah Love? I mean, do they get the 1-2 combo back?
And, it's one of those things we have to decide where Jeremiah Love's going to go, inevitably. So it's like, do they feel like Pacheco is going to be a good half of that tandem that they their offensive DNA is built on, right?
Yeah.
Is it going to be enough? I would think so, especially the way they run that offense, but it's Jeremiah Love too. And it's like, okay, so if we don't do Jeremiah Love, we got to go to the defense. And it's like, do we leave McCoy up there, or do we take Keldrick Falk because we need an edge.
I think my gut tells me that they go with probably Keldrick Falk in this situation to pair with Aiden Hutchinson. Because here's the thing about McCoy, right? I think he's coming off of an injury, right? And that's why he's not participating in these pro days and all that.
Right.
And I just think that scares teams off, especially when you're trying to get back to being good again. You're not really trying to get somebody like Dallas likes to do, where they try to steal him in the second round and then they try to develop him for a full year and all that. Like, teams want someone who can play this season. And I'm not saying McCoy's not going to play this season, but they don't really want to deal with, him being out until training camp starts or anything like that. Yeah, known. There you go. That's the word.
Yeah.
So here, my gut tells me Keldrick Falk.
Okay.
I think we know where Jeremiah Love's going to go now.
Yeah, and I think this is the team that would probably come up to get him and trade with us.
Yeah, so the Minnesota Vikings here, obviously they have J.J. McCarthy. They picked up Kyler Murray, and they have Carson Wentz. Their running backs right now are Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, and that's pretty much it. I only know the third guy. They got Jefferson still. They got Jordan Addison still. They got T.J. Hawkinson. So they got weapons on this offense, right? Led by an offensive guru or offensive-minded head coach guru, right? And O'Connell. On the defensive side, they've always been kind of like a bend, don't break defense from when I'm watching them on TV and kind of seeing what kind of highlights they got out there and everything like that. They've never really been known for a defense that's just going to shut you down. They've always been known for an offense that's going to win you games. So here, I think this is where Jeremiah Love goes. If he falls to pick 18, how does Minnesota pass on this?
No, I agree with you. And in the real draft, I think he's gone before this, but for our unique situation,
he's fallen to 18 today.
Yeah, he's going 18 today.
All right.
Carolina.
What you got?
Carolina. Oh, man. Let me take a quick little snapshot. Okay, so they started to show a little something this year. Got the fans' hopefuls all up.
They almost won a wild card game.
Almost. Let's see. You got John Mechie. Only know that name because for some reason he floats around. Man, nobody real big. Devin Lloyd, that's a big one. That'll help that defense out a little bit. So I think they're saying they feel pretty good about their offense. Yeah. And they're trying to stack. Yeah, man. Okay. Ooh, scary. Okay, so we got Jalen Phillips. Caleb Evans, Robert Rochelle in their defense, Isaiah Simmons, Thomas Incoom. Definitely stacking the defense up a little bit here. So that seems to be their focus. They could go either way, offensively or defensively, but this might be a good spot for, what's below Tyson just before I look at McCoy? Man, there might be some discussion in the war room between Warren and McCoy, but I think you take McCoy here.
I like it. Let's do it. I like how we said this was going to be 45 to an hour. We're hour 18 in.
It's my fault, man.
No, it ain't no one's fault. Mock drafts we're here for the content and here for a good time, so it's no big deal. Mock drafts, man. I can sit here and talk about it forever, man. So many situations could happen. All right, so Dallas is on the clock again at pick 20 here. Obviously, this was the pick acquired from Green Bay. So here we go. We got
ourselves a linebacker.
Yep, we addressed the linebacker need at 12. Yeah. What does Dallas do at 20? Obviously, their guy just got stolen. If they could have walked out of this draft with C.J. Allen, McCoy, this would have been a win-win. But in this situation, Mike here decided to not give the Cowboys any love at all. We already reached for C.J. Allen at 12, and now our guy just got stolen from us a pick ahead. So, was Dallas? I'm gonna let you solve this riddle. You tell me what Dallas does at 20.
All right, show me the board a little bit here.
All right, so we got Sadiq, we got Jordan Tyson, we got Warren, we got Terrell, we got Cooper, we got Blake Miller, we got Howell, Proctor, McDonald, Parker.
Okay, take me back up to stop right there. Man, I like it. I'll take Terrell in this situation.
I think I agree. I still think they try to target that cornerback room, and if
Yeah.
McCoy's gone and if Delane's gone, I think Terrell's probably your best option here. All right, Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, they got a new head coach in Mike McCarthy this year after having Mike Tomlin for what seems like almost 2 decades. They brought in, they stole our guy Brock Hoffman. I know that on top of my head. They still have DK Metcalf for their quarterback situation. They don't have really a quarterback answer at the moment. Maybe Aaron Rodgers comes back again. They do have that young kid, Will Howard from Ohio State. They lost Kenneth Gainwell. This would have been if somehow, let's say the Vikings decide to let Jeremiah Love slip. This is probably where Jeremiah Love could went again, right? Is pick 21.
It makes sense because all they did was grab Rico Dowdle.
Yep, they grabbed Rico Dowdle, probably knowing that Jeremiah Love was never going to fall even near them.
But they could trade up for him. This is another potential trade candidate because we have a relationship with Pittsburgh already. So they could call, hey, Jerk, they could call.
Yep. Here, I mean, obviously it says their needs are quarterback, running back, guard, tackle. I probably say they go offensive lineman here. I really like this Blake Miller guy from Clemson, and I really like Proctor here from Alabama.
Okay, so in all honesty, we could discuss, Omar Cooper Jr., Blake Miller, and Proctor. So I'll let you make this call. You're probably a little more familiar with it than I am.
I'm probably going to go with Blake Miller, and I'm trying to remember for the reason why, but I can't remember what it was with Proctor. I'll probably come back around to it here in a minute. But for me, I'm going to go Blake Miller. For either way, I don't think Pittsburgh goes wrong with either guy. I think it's a small preference I have between the two guys, and this is a personal preference of mine when it comes to tackles. But for Pittsburgh, they struggled in the offensive line this past year, not being able to protect Aaron Rodgers, and it showed heavily in that wild card game. You saw the Houston Texans get after them with the amount of sacks that they were having that game, and it's the reason why they lost or didn't even have a chance against the Texans in that wild card game on that Super Monday. So I think they need to go offensive line, get things back on track.
Okay.
All right, the Chargers.
I think they're kind of in the same boat. They need line either side.
Yeah. Well, no, they have 2 premier tackles because remember Rashawn Slater, they both got hurt before the season started. They have Rashawn Slater and then I forget the right tackle. But they have 2 guys that they put first round picks into. They just both got hurt for this season started.
Right, which makes them unknown quantities. So it says their biggest needs are offensive lineman, edge, and defensive lineman. And we've got Cassius Howell sitting on the board. A minor reach, but he's the best defensive player outside of the safety up there.
You talking about Howell here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Howell.
Unless they grab Proctor here.
No, I think they stay away from it because
I agree. I think they definitely go with a D lineman or an edge if the one's available.
Yeah, I like that. Because they did lose Bosa 2 years ago, so they would be looking to kind of re-quantify that talent.
Man, everybody's looking for the edge, and that's the
scary part.
That's the thing this year because that is the other half of the coin that's going to mess up what Dallas is trying to chase, which is a linebacker, because linebackers and edge linebackers are all same thing now. So if it says linebacker, it's an edge player in a lot of war rooms' minds, and that's what's going to start yanking them off the board really early. It used to be running backs were the premium player, and now it's edge rushers. So it's going to be slim pickings, and that's why some of these other talented players are going to hang around on the board so long, because the next 3 teams, the first thing they're all looking for, 3 out of the 4 of the next team, their first need is an edge.
Yeah, and I kind of helped myself out here going with Howell on the last pick because I think this is where Proctor goes for the Eagles. Okay. I think they replenish their tackle room.
Okay.
Cleveland, what you think here? Obviously, earlier we had them picking Carnell Tate. Do you think they keep punishing the? I doubt they pick another wide receiver. I mean, Jordan Tyson would be kind of a crazy pick here, but
They could grab that tight end. Their tight end's starting to age, and they have talented wide receivers, so they could grab Sadiq here.
let's do it.
Yeah, let's just keep it 100 there, and then we're at the Bears. They need a safety, and look,
Boom. This back half of this back half of the draft, if they fall, usually what teams follow, it's always about best talent at that point. You're not really trying to, unless you want to reach, which Dallas has done that 1,000 times, right? Mozzie Smith, Taco Tarleton, like we talked about this, but usually teams go best talent.
Who's the best lineman in order?
You got Max here from Arizona State.
Defensive. We can do offensive or defensive. So what's the best lineman available? Doesn't matter, offense or defense.
TJ, it's these two guys right here. TJ Parker, or these three. I'm sorry.
What is McDonald?
Interior defensive lineman.
Okay, so this scores edge above offensive lineman and then linebacker and defensive back. So if we're picking based on their first priority need, grab the edge.
TJ Parker.
Yep.
All right, the Niners.
They're in need of a lineman. Yep.
Texans.
Also in need of a lineman, a defensive lineman, and an edge.
I think they go between these two guys, or they could go between these three defensive interior linemen. I think it's Caleb Banks, though. I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot of good things with it.
Yeah, we're in unfamiliar territory.
Yeah, I need to do my research for the back half. I think I've gone up to basically picks 20, but after 20, I'm like, I don't really know here.
At that point, they're going to start coming off the board a little quicker. All right, so Kansas City up for a second time. And
we had them pick Delane last time.
So they grabbed a cornerback.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they went Peter Woods or Jordan Tyson and were like, let's just add another weapon. But Peter Woods sounds.
Let's do scroll up. What's above Tyson?
Nothing.
Let's grab Jordan Tyson.
All right, the Dolphins back up on the board. Last time the Dolphins drafted a wide receiver. So probably they end up going with maybe Colton Hood here.
Oh, yeah, I like Colton Hood.
And then the Patriots. Do they go with
defensive
line?
Probably going to go with McDonald or Peter Woods.
I'm going to say Peter Woods.
Okay, I like it.
And then the Seattle Seahawks, they're going to go running back, edge, or DB.
So let's say we're at 32. Well, they're not going to pick in the 40s. That's second round territory. So they're definitely going to grab somewhere at the top.
They could go Zion Young if they really needed an edge. It's a reach. But, I mean, I picked 32.
They need a running back, it says, and an offensive lineman. Those are their top two priorities.
This guy's at 38. He's probably.
All right, so let's grab him.
Let's see. We'll see what grade we got. Where's the grade? There's no grade.
They didn't grade us. They're like, y'all are so stupid.
Let's see.
And it's likely because we didn't do any trades, and that's okay.
They really not give us a grade? That's kind of
no. We either took too long, or they just like didn't agree with our strategy.
But yeah, man, I'll post this on our channel on the post page, and we can kind of just say this is our official Cowboys game plan mock draft 1.0. Obviously, no trades, and kind of set the rules on what we did here. But overall, I mean, I think this is like a draft. Like if I were looking at this from picks 1 to 20, I'm about 80% confident that this is how the board falls. again, the 20% is that somehow Jeremiah Love goes in the top 5, and then maybe Ty Simpson somehow gets drafted because a team really wants a quarterback that early. But I don't see it being likely. I can see teams being very logical in their draft choices here.
Right. A couple of variations on what we did, but it's going to be very similar.
Yeah.
Unless something just really crazy pops off, there's no way we're going to end up with, a top 2 linebacker and a top 2 cornerback. I just don't see that happening in this draft. We'll get one or the other.
Yeah. I agree. But outside of that, man, you got anything else before we end it? Next time we'll probably we'll do maybe a faster mock draft version where we do Dallas picks 1 through 7, rounds 1 through 7. We kind of just say, hey, like we're going to simulate all the other teams, and we're going to see what the computer puts Dallas, or what the computer
situation it puts us in. Yeah.
There you go. Thank you. I'm losing my words for the rest of the day.
No, you're good.
But yeah, outside of that, man, if y'all are still here, please leave a comment, like, subscribe. Currently right now, just to give you some hype real quick, we're at 400 subscribers. We finally hit 400 during this stream, so that's something to be celebrated there, sir. We are on the road to 500 now officially. So
thank you.
Appreciate all the support, man. As always, as I always say from Mike and I, we are here to talk to y'all, kind of just talk Cowboys content, whether it's good, bad, we love to conversate. So outside of that, man, again, leave a comment, like, subscribe. And I forgot to say at the beginning, but if you are here, you're always in the right place. This is Cowboys Game Plan.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
Never lose sight of the magic of this football team.
Yeah! Here we go!
I'm all in.